Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lamp.
Time to catch up with my old mate, Leo Pekar. He is let's get this right, shall we? He is a FarmWise Consultant down in Southland, but he's also done a Kellogg leadership program. G'day, Leo. Welcome to the show, mate. Good to see you. Looking well. How are you?
How you doing? Great to see you, mate. Thanks for having me.
Nice to have you on the show. You and I haven't caught up for a wee while, and last time we normally talk
rugby.
While,
eh?
Yeah, no, it has been a
we
wee while.
Do.
Yeah, normally talk to you after the Argentinians have beaten have beaten the All Blacks, which hasn't happened for a wee while. So that's probably why.
Yeah, it might not happen for a wee while. The way you guys are looking.
No, it's all right, mate. You guys punch above your weight. We know that. Before we get into this, because I have no idea what we're talking about here, to be honest. This is something I haven't heard about. How's Southland looking?
Southland is looking really good. We had a really good growing winter, especially the first few weeks in June. We've been growing probably about twice what we historically grow. So except for those farms that are quite heavy soils and they remain wet through the winter, which might be 20% of my clients at least, probably the rest of Southland, it's got a lot of grass. Really good position to start calving.
Well, that's fantastic, and I know I'm starting to see a few snapshots and photos from my southern friends, dairy farmers, that there's calves on the ground now, seeing as we are the 27th of July, so more on that is happening. Now, right, this is the summary. Can bite rate bridge the gap between cow wearable tech and real-time pasture management? I'm sorry, as I said in my intro, I have dairy farmed for 25 years. I have never heard of bite rate. I have no idea what this is about. What is going on here, Leo? Come on, have you found a solution to a problem that none of us knew we had, or what?
Well, I'm trying to get there. It's been a really interesting journey. So through Kellogg's, you need to select a topic for a research project. And I had this idea always in the back of my head. And we got cow wearables hanging on the collars, cows' necks and ears. They're flopping around and they're telling us information about how much the cow is ruminating and how much is she eating, how much is she inactive. So I thought, to be honest, they got to be a little bit more than that. A lot of the people I talk to, they use the information mostly for heat detection. Some people look at the animal health alerts, but not all of them. So we're paying a subscription for a device that is, there 12 months of the year, and we only use it properly for a limited amount of time. So I hate to see untapped potential. And when I was in uni, I learned about bite rate, and basically what the research what tell me on the 90s was like cows change the grazing strategy and how many bites they take per minute according to the composition of the pasture, the length of the pasture, and the density. So, for example, when the cows are eating long grass and mouthfuls, they got quite a nice rhythm. But as the pasture covers drop down, cows compensate in a way by increasing the bite rate to keep, the intake up per minute, which is quite interesting. And it's a bit of a novel knowledge because it doesn't have much use. But now I'm wondering, well, if we got these devices, if they're able to pick up on bite rate, they might give us an insight on the pastures on real time, not the following day. This is real-time pasture management. So I got quite excited about this idea, and I went exploring and looking under the hood on the data derived from the collars and the wearables, and it was a super interesting journey for me.
Okay, so excuse me. So you're not trying to. So what are you trying to? You're actually trying to figure out the residual left in the paddock from the way the cows eat the grass. And so
Exactly.
How are you measuring that?
So I had to go into the research. First, I had two research questions. One was, can we pick up bite rate with existing wearable technology? And the second one, is there really a relationship between residuals and bite rate? So I went on this journey, and I was able to look at the raw data and got within 10% of the bite rate of my observations versus what we were able to build with a little bit of an algorithm. So that was quite exciting. That the second part of the research was like, okay, is there a relationship between bite rate and pasture residuals? So that was the main aim of the whole topic for me and research. And then lamentably at the end, we learned that the rumen field had a negative a negative thing on bite rate. So as cows get full during the grazing bout, they slow down on the bite rate, despite the knowledge from the 90s that the pasture was lower and the bite rate should be higher. So I got to a bit of a dead end, but having said that, looking at the data and investigating, we came up with quite an interesting discovery, which was like the collars not only tell us the bite rate or how much the cows are bites taken per minute, they also gave us, they can yield information about the bite strategy, which is really different depending on the composition, the quality of the pasture, the length of the pasture. There's still a lot of unknowns. But what we ended up with is quite some exciting conversations and questions that should be further researched, because just by looking at the head angle of approach of the cow, the effort it takes to pull the bite, and the lateral sway of the head using the tongue, it gives us a lot of information about the strategy of how the cow is tackling the pasture. Right, and from that information we can derive on pasture composition, and this is these are the questions that need to be further researched.
Okay, so you found out that bite rate is not a good guide for or to figure out residual, but you've done a lot of other. So the unexpected information, as you said, was how cows interact with pasture. So how can that be useful then? Knowing that, like, it's one thing to to be able to measure it or see it. How's that useful for a farmer going forward? What can they do with it, or is it just an interesting research tool?
Yes. Now, at the moment, it's just a little bit of a Pandora box where we found these things out, and we need to increase the number of animals of the observations and make sure those links that I've seen, are of use and update. Potentially, if this proves correct, we can update algorithms in wearables and get more information about what the cows are eating. So there's mainly probably two takeaways that we can potentially get out of this. If this is positive to be confirmed at a head level, maybe in a couple of years' time or a year time, we might be able to say, okay, this is the composition of the pasture, what they're eating exactly at the moment. So it gives you a lot of oversight of how and what the cows are eating. And the other thing that is really important is there's a lot of research happening at the moment and trying to build predictive models on, first, how much cows eat, because we know generally what a herd eats, but how much individual cows eat, we got no idea. So it's a lot of efficiency gains and understanding from knowing how much cows eat. So maybe we can get to the bottom of that, or the other people get to the bottom of that. And the other one is that there are predictive models that are trying to use wearables to understand, how much pasture is there, and not only post-grazing residuals, but also pre-graze covers and a few things. So this, the way these predictive models work is, as an example, imagine, the satellite information you get for your pasture covers. We had satellite pictures for many years, and it was quite unreliable, because just the color of the pasture wasn't a good enough indicator. But now, we got different softwares. They're not using the pasture color and the satellite picture. They're laying up different indicators. So they're stacking up the growth of the area, the soil temperature and humidity. So when you start stacking this information, the quality of your pasture covers improves quite a lot. So with wearables happens the same. At the moment, we're trying to predict a lot of things based on rumination. But if we're able to stack all these new behaviors, we might be able to improve a lot the reliability of the data. So out of this, what I'm trying to get is hopefully, at the moment we got 4 or 5 behaviors, and behaviors I'm talking about rumination, eating minutes, lying minutes, resting minutes, whatever, that's mainly those 4. But what if we can increase the number of behaviors available by adding the grazing strategy, which is what I'm working on. What about if we add on top of that the bite rate, and we add on top of that the effort at the pool and the angle of approach and the lateral sway and all of these grazing strategy behaviors can actually become very useful for other predictive models.
I was just thinking about, you talked about we put a herd of cows in a paddock, we walk out and it's got a residual. You're right, we don't know how much individual cows eat. It would be possible using some of the technology, I would imagine, to preferential feed the lighter or the lesser eaters, because maybe there's various reasons why they might be getting bullied, all sorts of things, right? So yeah, this information data could be useful for your for your herd management, for your pasture management, quite easily. How easy is it to integrate through the different algorithms into the software, into the different wearable systems?
I'm not 100% sure about that. I'm not that techie. A lot of devices can be updated, but it will depend on individual brands and what they can do, to be honest.
Okay.
All right. Hey, great.
So, Leo, the information is available on the Kellogg's website. How can people have a look at? You've just done this? This just been finished? Or
it's been published about a couple of weeks ago now.
Yeah. Okay. So
it's on the Rural Leaders Program website, and you can find all the research projects from the people that've been there. There's a lot of good information about reduction of bobbies and genetics of beef, and there's a lot of really good stuff.
So what's next for you now? Are you going to continue working on this, or is this you finished your Kellogg, so that's it, or has it piqued your interest and now you want to keep doing it?
This has been the biggest rabbit hole of my career. I started as a bit of just to improve a little bit my capability and challenge myself with some learning, and I ended up with this rabbit hole that I'm willing to pursue. So I'm heading up into the North Island, catching up with the people who supported me, the owners of the wearable brand who supported me through this project with information, and we're going to have a look at a new deployment of 200 devices on paddock, and we're going to try to get to the bottom of this.
All right. Oh, keep us in the loop, Leo. Really interesting stuff. I think it's fascinating to use this data, and when we can start to, bring it into a real world practical use and start integrating it into farm systems, it's going to be fascinating to watch. So keep us in touch.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
All right, Leo Pekar there, FarmWise Consultant, Southland, and his Kellogg Rural Leadership Program. You can go on to the Rural Leader website, just Google that, Kellogg's, and you will be able to find that.
Countrywide Connect with Andy Thompson and Sarah Perriam-Lapp.